and we were very brief. We just said no one is allowed to threaten federal judges. No one is allowed to call for violence every day unless they're a Fed. And the guy was hooked in with Sean Hannity and the neocons. We know Hannity is literally a CIA asset. It's come out CNN, Washington Post is CIA. And now it's come out in federal court, and the FBI is on record and the U.S. attorney. He is the highest level FBI agent there is. They said national security level FBI agent, not a informant. They usually use ex-cons and people they've got under their control, and they use some ex-cons here locally against us. And when it's actually happening to you, it's hard to believe that it's really going on. It's hard to believe that it's actually happening. But again, and I'm going to Mark Dice here in a moment. He just brought this up, so I thought I'd talk about it. It's hard to believe until you've been doing this 14 years and it's been confirmed over and over and over and over again that this is the case. I wanted to read to you COINTELPRO, an acronym for Counterintelligence Program, was a series of covert, often illegal projects conducted by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation aimed at investigating and disrupting dissident political organizations within the United States. The FBI used covert operations from its inception. However, formal COINTELPRO operations took place between 56 and 71. The FBI statement, motivation at the time was protecting national security. They're now saying covering up AIG as national security, preventing violence, and maintaining the existing social and political order. According to FBI records, 85% of COINTELPRO resources were expended on infiltrating, disrupting, marginalizing, and/or subverting groups suspected of being subversive. And then you read into this, let me find the area where it says it, that they would go into nonviolent civil rights movement, including Martin Luther King and others. And it says the American Indian Movement and other civil rights groups, a broad range of organizations, New Left, including Students for Democratic Society, the National Lawyers Guild, on and on and on, anyone against the Vietnam War, and even in individual student demonstrations with no group affiliation. And then it talks about how, in the thousands of pages of documents, how they would do this is, and it's literally a textbook, and most of the people that are part of it don't even know. They're being led by a psychological warfare expert. And the Pentagon declassified a few years ago their 2004 manual for the third world. Anybody who's a leader, they say, they're making money because they don't ever want activists to ever get any capital to build anything real. You ought to be the leader. Or that person wants to take over what you're doing. Or go protest them at their protest. Or split off. And then it says in here, they have them go in and call for violence to then run off the reasonable members. That's what Cass Sunstein calls for in a new document, a year and a half old, and he's now in the White House and set to be the next Supreme Court justice when Stevens leaves at the end of the year, is he said, we will go into their groups, we covered this a few weeks ago, and we will pose as conspiracy theorists, we will pose as anti-government, anti-Federal Reserve, anti-global warming people, and we will get everybody fighting with each other, and then we will accuse those that we're setting up of being the ones that did it. And so that's why this is so important, because then they force you to even talk about it. So you have to educate people. And then that gets people more paranoid about going out, speaking out, being involved. Going back to Mark Dice, Mark getting into Hal Turner. We called him out over a decade ago. You've been calling him out in the last 3 years. Everything he put out was a hoax. Go ahead.
Hal Turner is a very fascinating case because, yes, he's called for violence against people, and now he's been arrested for making these threats in June of 2009.
By the state, and the feds are defending him. Go ahead.
Yeah, so his lawyer openly stated and admitted in court that he was an agent provocateur taught by the agency. Quote, this is a quote from his lawyer, Michael Orzoko. His job was to basically publish information which would cause other parties to act in a manner which would lead to their arrest. Now, him urging violence is one thing. I mean, obviously, it wasn't to lead to their arrest. He was to urge people to commit violent acts to then demonize certain groups. But what's very interesting about Hal Turner is that in 2008, he published photos of what he claimed were the Amero coin. Now, we all know that the Amero has been discussed by a lot of these high-level globalists and CFR people as the coming regional currency. So this is in the works, and usually what the CFR wants, the CFR gets. So this guy published photos saying that he got pictures and had an informant at the Denver Mint that sent him photos of this Amero coin. Then a few months later, October 2008, he publishes a YouTube video showing, in reality, it was a replica. You can buy a Amero replica coin.
Yeah, there are thousands of companies that'll make any coin you want, and it turned out that group was in Colorado, and they just printed some up to show what was being announced.
Yeah, so he goes on to say that he has a real Amero coin, and that he has an informant in the mint, and he shows it. And so, people might think, oh, well, maybe he was mistaken. He can't have been mistaken, because months earlier he posted the photos, which he just took from these replica coin sites. And so he had to have been getting dozens, hundreds of emails saying, no, that this is not correct, photos from these replicas.
Yeah, we put up an article saying, look, here, it's a replica coin.
Yeah. So he goes out, and his video climbed to the top, hundreds of thousands of views. It was #1 on Google Video's top 100 list when they were doing the top 100 videos on Google Video. So he goes out, the people spread the video around, look, the Amero's out, and then later on people start to realize that it was a hoax. And so he's already admitted to be on the payroll for the feds as an agent provocateur to urge violence. And to
Have you seen the new court records? That was the older ones. New ones came out with the U.S. Attorney and FBI saying he was an agent.
Yeah. But what he does, this is really ingenious on his handler's part, is to create this stir. Everybody started emailing this video around in his article from his website where he claimed to have this. They're coming. We're sending the Ameros to China. They're going to drop the dollar. So everybody starts to say, oh, yep, look, it's coming true. And then it comes out, people start looking, oh, no, it was a hoax. Hal Turner's a fraud. It was a replica. So what that does is then people start to dismiss the idea when they're talking, people like us, people like Alex that are talking about, oh, there's Amero coming, there's global currency. Then the whole role of Hal Turner and his hoax is to then get people to think, oh, no, I heard about that. That was a hoax. Don't worry about that. And then to take it to the next level, a few months after his video showing his fake Amero coin, he then posted pictures of what he claimed to be the paper Amero currency. So he's just continuing to recycle this same hoax every few months to try to spread it around there to create this disinformation and muddy the water. And then in his blog, he posted that the YouTube video was pulled, his YouTube account was pulled under national security because he was destabilizing the dollar. And so, the list of hoax that this guy has perpetuated just goes on and on and on. And that's his job. This is admitted by his lawyer. And so thankfully he's been arrested for making these claims of wanting to kill people. But it's absurd that his lawyer says, oh, well, he was just, posting threats to urge people to commit acts so they could be arrested. No, he was posting these things so that people would actually commit crimes, because the FBI is not going to know what kind of psycho is going to read his blog post and the people's addresses that he would post on his website and go and harm these people. Then the intention is not to find these people before they do anything. The intention is to get them to do it.
Well, you're absolutely right. In fact, there was a new hoax. UN gold hoax muddies the waters of real move towards global currency. That was, a month and a half ago? Let me see the date on that article they just put on screen. They have more of those. There's whole constellations of groups who don't make mistakes. Everybody does that. But they knowingly, and we've also identified who's COINTELPRO. We've even looked into some of the corporate documents, into some of the alternative little fake radio networks that are out there, who their only job is attacking and lying about myself mainly, because they know I'm one of the biggest bona fide real things, attacking Ron Paul, attacking myself, making up things. And they always just put out wild disinfo. Alex Jones is owned by the Saudi Arabians. Alex Jones is owned by the Brahmins. Alex Jones is owned by the Scientologists. And the same people will be saying I'm owned by all of it. Obviously that's not true. Even if you believe I was by one of those groups, all of them, the Jews, the Vatican, the Scientologists, the Saudis, the Keebler elves, ABC owns Genesis, because of many satellites we've leased. Any radio owner will be laughing. You have to lease a satellite if you want to have a gardening show or anything else, a feed of thousands on it. It's like $5,000 a month. It's like getting Roadrunner at your house. So they also take kernels of things. But it's important to expose this so other people spend their time and energy, other people listening or watching, they know they're good. So don't spend your time infighting with each other. Spend your time the mark of a provocateur is they always want to attack any real leaders. They always want to break up real groups. They always want to call for violence. They always want to spread disinfo. They don't want you to go out and be your own leader. They don't want you to go out and wake people up. They just want to, why do they have riot police at every event? And at every event they get caught in the news, the police attacking their own police in front of news cameras dressed up like anarchists, until no one wants to go out and protest because you don't want to get rubber bulleted or hit with a sound cannon or a microwave gun. And they just do this over and over and over again until Americans don't want to go out and protest. They have effectively, with free speech zones and the rest of it, killed most protesting. And any protest I've ever had, people show up to try to disrupt it, and then they say, you are the disruptors. So that's how you can always tell the COINTELPRO and the useful idiots that they've got working for them, Mark.
I've launched